Let's talk about something that, let's be honest, drives all of us a little crazy. A total lack of focus. We live in this world that's just buzzing with distractions, right? So how do we actually get anything important done? Well, we're going to break down the science behind it, and I promise you, the solution is probably not what you're thinking. Okay, let me ask you something. You ever been reading, a book or some important email, and you get to the very bottom of the page, and you realize you have absolutely no clue what you just read? Your eyes were moving, but your brain was just somewhere else? It's the worst feeling, and we've all been there.
So what gives? It's so easy to blame the book for being boring, or to think, my focus is just shot today. But here's the twist. The problem isn't the task you're trying to do. Nope. The real culprit is what you were doing in the few minutes right before you started. Your ability to focus was decided before you even sat down.
All right, so let's pop the hood and really look at the mechanics of why this happens. What is actually going on up there when you try to switch from, say, scrolling through social media to suddenly trying to focus on a serious report? Because understanding that transition is everything. That's where the battle for your attention is won or lost. The neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman just nails this. He says your focus isn't like a light switch you can just flick on and off. It's much more of a state that's been built up by everything you've been feeding your brain. That funny video you just watched, that quick text you answered, the podcast you had on, none of that stuff just vanishes. It all carries over.
And to get why those inputs are so sticky, check out this idea from neuroscientist Jenny Graw. She says to think of thoughts as layers of sensory memories. So your brain doesn't just think, dog, no way. It starts with dog, and then it instantly starts piling on details. Golden retriever. Oh, it's fluffy. It probably smells like wet fur. Your mind is doing this constantly, and that process doesn't just stop because you decided it's time to work.
And this, right here, this is the modern problem in a nutshell. Back in the day, distractions were mostly external, right? A noise outside. You could solve that by closing a door or putting on blinders. But now, we've managed to funnel an entire universe of distractions, all those sensory layers, through one little screen. We've brought the infinite noise of the world right into our own heads. Okay, so if the problem is this non-stop flood of sensory information, what's the fix? Well, it's not some fancy new app, it's not a complicated productivity system, it's actually something way simpler and, honestly, kind of weird. The solution is boredom, intentional boredom. And this is the magic number. That's all it takes. This secret to unlocking real deep focus is hiding in what you do for just 10 to 15 minutes before you start working. This little window of time is your chance to hit the reset button on your brain.
So the whole point of these 10 to 15 minutes is to basically starve your brain of any new information. Remember that whole layering thing with thoughts? By going silent, you stop that cascade. You're giving your brain a chance to finally process all the leftover noise from whatever you were just doing. You're creating a clean slate, a quiet space in your head so it's ready for what's next.
And what's really cool is that this idea of managing your brain's input, it's not just about focus. It's also the secret to how we actually learn and remember things. It all comes down to switching from being a passive sponge to an active participant in your own learning. This quote right here is an absolute game changer. We all kind of think that if we just see something enough times, reread our notes, rewatch a video, it'll eventually just stick. But the science is crystal clear. That's a super inefficient way to learn. Real learning, the kind that lasts, isn't about pushing information in. It's about pulling it out. Just look at the difference here. Reading your notes 5 times, that's just passive exposure. You're just letting the words wash over you. But reading them once, closing the book, and then actively trying to remember what was in them, that's recall. That self-test is the mental workout that strengthens the connections in your brain and signals, hey, this stuff is important, save it. Okay, so we've covered the problem, the brain science behind it, and even how this ties into learning. Let's put it all together. Let's build a simple, powerful ritual that you can start using literally today to take back your focus. Here it is, 4 easy steps. First, just know exactly what you're about to do. Second, carve out those 10 to 15 minutes of quiet. Third, and this one is non-negotiable, you have to eliminate all inputs. I mean it, put the phone in another room. No music, no podcasts, nothing. Just sit there. And finally, you embrace the boredom. Just let your mind do its thing and settle down. It'll feel weird at first, for sure, but that's the mental runway you need before you can take off into deep work. So the real takeaway here is that focus isn't something you find, it's something you create. You build it in those quiet little moments between all the noise. And the real question isn't about whether you have the time, it's about whether you'll make the time. So how are you going to use that little slice of silence to set yourself up for success?